What's up, everybody? How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. This is another Tier List Tuesday. Today, I'm coming at you something different. Normally, a lot of gaming stuff on this channel, but today, I want to do a little NFL. As the season winds down, what I think and how I feel about NFL teams and how I think they're doing at this point in the season. And I'll reveal my team at the end, which you might be able to pick up if you look in the background. But let's get into the list. So I have it broken down into 6 different categories. They can kind of be mixed in and out, but I'm going to explain as I go what each one means. Obviously, Super Bowl contenders, teams that can win it, playoff bound, wildcard, just out, UG, and rebuild. So I'm just going to kind of jump around between tiers. I don't want to just do them all at once. It's not really how my brain works, but we're gonna kind of jump around and just do what I see fits at the time. Clearly, the hottest team in the NFL is the Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to throw those in Super Bowl contenders because that one's an obvious one. They beat the Pats, and then a few weeks later, they went and they beat San Francisco. So they beat the top teams in the respective conference at that time. So you got to give them the credit. They are clearly Super Bowl contenders. Lamar Jackson, who was my number 2 quarterback coming out of the draft, he's just been a stud. Greg Roman's done a great job in the Harbaugh. He's a good coach, and it shows. Next, I'm going to throw 2 more teams into the Super Bowl contenders, but that's not going to be all the teams that are going to sit there. I'm just going to throw another team from the NFC, which is the Who Dat New Orleans Saints, who are currently the number 1 in the NFC. So I think they're a dominant team. You got Drew Brees, who is healthy. He got a few weeks off because of that thumb injury, which might be a blessing come the end of the season. Him rested. You got Kamara, who's killing it. Murray's it's very, very solid number 2 back. Michael Thomas, again, historic career so far. And Sean Payton's a very creative guy. Cam Jordan's great on the line, just all around doing well. Secondary needs to pick it up a little bit, but when you have Drew Brees leading the charge, I think that puts you right up there as a Super Bowl contender. Then I'm going to go with the 49ers, who the Ravens beat. Actually, I'm going to put this one down. I have to think about that one a little bit. I have to piece this together in my mind because I have not pieced this together yet. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm going to throw 2 teams into the playoff bound. I'm going to throw the Buffalo Bills. They are clearly going to be a wild card team unless they have this catastrophic collapse. They're a solid team. But Josh Allen needs a little bit more before they can push up into that next tier. But Buffalo Bills definitely on a good trajectory towards the future, especially depending on what happens with Tom Brady. And because of Tom Brady, I'm going to throw the Patriots in the Super Bowl contenders. You got Bill Belichick, you got Tom Brady, you got assortment of running backs and a defense that's playing well. You're a Super Bowl team. You are a contender every year, and you've been there. That's the most important thing, is that's a team that's been there. Another playoff-bound team, but I think this team is just shy of being a Super Bowl contender, is the Houston Texans. Obviously, this list is AFC heavy right now. I just think that the Texans are just missing something, and it might be the coach. It might be Bill O'Brien. It might be the running game, which is it's good, but it's not great. It could be their road record. They're very around 500 team on the road. I don't know. I just don't have that factor about them yet. Deshaun Watson can be. DeAndre Hopkins is an elite wide receiver, obviously. But, wide receiver is a weird position where it's hard to dominate the game. In the just out, and I'm going to throw the Falcons in the UG. I want to put the Rams in the UG category, and I feel like the UG category is a category of teams that just didn't do what they should. And the Falcons are a really good example of that because you have Matt Ryan. Freeman, he's a good running back. He's not a star, but he's good. You had, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, and you had Sanu for a little bit. Nothing happened. And you had Dan Quinn, who was a defensive coach for the Seahawks when they had the boom, Legion of Boom, and he's over there. And the Falcons really haven't done anything since the Super Bowl. They've actually had losing records every year since Super Bowl and gotten worse and worse. So, I don't know. That's a weird one to me. They're UG. The Rams I want to put down there. But they are doing slightly better, so, I can't totally do that to them. At 7-5, they could finish 9-7. They missed the playoff at 9-7. I'm almost certain. The Chicago Bears, they're an UG team, man. Mitchell Trubisky. It could be Nagy, the coach. It could be Trubisky. One of those two. Something's got to change between those two. And I don't know. I'm not in the Bears organization. I'm not a Bears fan, so I don't know exactly what it is. But you got a small window where you have this defense being this elite. So use that. That's my 2 cents. So either Nagy or Trubisky, something's got to change there. and whoever's in charge of that organization, you got to start making some moves, making some phone calls. And if you want some trade ideas, let me know. I got a few trade ideas that are very short window trades. So let me know, all right? I'm going to rapid fire do the NFC East because the NFC East is just so bad. like Dallas, Eagles, Redskins, Giants. Honestly, 4 teams that do not deserve to be in the playoffs, but we're going to go through them. The Giants are in rebuild, but they're on the upper end of rebuild. Next year, they could go 8-8 next year, and that wouldn't surprise me. Just because Daniel Jones has another year. Saquon's solid, very, very solid. They're going to need a wide receiver. Their defense going to need help, but they're going to have right now probably the number 2 pick. You pick up Chase Young from Ohio State. Right there, that's a solid player that you can really help build around. We're going to go to the Redskins. Redskins are also in rebuild. They have Haskins, but you have Dan Snyder as your owner, so you're kind of in limbo always. You don't have a head coach right now, so they're kind of figuring things out. They're still in rebuild mode. Eagles are in UGG. They're not in just out. They're in UGG because they have not found an identity. They haven't figured things out yet. Their secondary is there. Carson Wentz is there. Like they haven't figured things out. They can't catch the ball as wide receivers. There's so many things that just they have questions about that they can't figure out. So that's why they're there. The Cowboys, they're a wild card because they're technically gonna make it. You know, they're gonna win the division. Like I don't see them moving on past. They could win the wild card round, and that wouldn't shock me because they'll be at home and they have a talented roster. But like, they're just not good. Like I can't put them any higher than that. Green Bay, playoff bound team, very, very good. They're a very solid team. The thing that my poster fell again. And if you caught that before, you know what my team is. Maybe if you see it falling down, you'll know what my team is. And if you caught that before, you know what my team is. Maybe if you see it falling down. Green Bay, they're a solid team, but I don't know. I still think they're missing the X factor, especially on defense. They don't have that guy. Maybe I'm a little biased, but they also most likely won't get a home game in the championship game because they would most likely go to New Orleans or Seattle or San Francisco, whatever of those two win the division. So they will be playing on the road in one of those two places. And any of those places, I feel like will probably be pretty rough come playoff time, especially if you're going to New Orleans, you're going to the Dome, or you're heading out west and playing for Seattle. Those two places are going to be awful. So that's why I'm putting him in the playoff bound. Definitely solid team. Aaron Rodgers, again, great quarterback. Matt LaFleur doing a great job in his first year. Wait, actually, let me think about this. Well, in UGG, that's the Chargers. And the Chargers, I have to preference this. All of their losses have come by 7 points or less. So the Chargers, they could easily be, have 10 wins right now. They could easily be up with Buffalo, up with Texans, even up with Baltimore and New England. Their it factor that they don't have anymore is Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is a shell of himself this year. And, I mean, you saw that last year against New England in the playoffs. I think it's time to split ways. I think Anthony Lynn needs to stay. Anthony Lynn seems like an amazing coach. I think Anthony Lynn must stay. If they get rid of him, somebody better pick Anthony Lynn up. Anthony Lynn, I have very, very high respect, and I hold him to a high regard. I think he is very, very solid coach. Tale of two seasons. We're going to throw the Vikings in the wild card. They're chilling right now. They should most likely make the second wild card, barring some catastrophic fall. But again, I don't know where they're going to go from there. Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins, I don't know what their plan is. But not that great on the road as a team. So that's going to hurt them come playoff time. So that's why they're a wild card team. Like, they'll make it, but they're going to someone's place. They're not good road teams. Go West Coast, and we're going to do the Raiders. The Raiders are actually surprising me this year. The Raiders are going to be a just out team. They're sitting at 6-6. I don't see them making the playoffs. And I don't see them making playoffs because I have the Titans ahead of them. I have the Titans taking that second wild card spot after the Bills in the AFC. And yeah, I could see the Raiders making it, though. They've definitely played well. They've surprised, I think, everybody, especially with, they hired Gruden, which is a good move, and then they got Antonio Brown, everyone had high expectations, then all of that happened. and everyone was like, oh, this team is done. They are over with. They're chilling right now. They're still in the hunt, which I think is a phenomenal thing, especially for this new age of Raider Nation, that they're trying to revamp themselves and be a contender again. So I can see some promise in that team. The Chiefs, they're a playoff-bound team. Do I think they're as electric as they were before? No, because that just wouldn't make sense if I said they were as electric as they were before. Their offense is good. Their defense isn't, though. Which I guess might be the Chiefs' MO. Mahomes going to put up a lot. But he has, in recent weeks, has seen that he has some flaws. A few games under 200 yards. So he can be exploited, and maybe they're trying to preserve him if they're doing that. Very smart by Andy Reid. But, you can definitely exploit that team. So we'll see what happens come playoff time. They do have some experience last year. He did get a few good games, so we will see. San Francisco 49ers. This is a playoff team. I think they're a very good team. I don't see them having that next factor yet. Their defensive line, the defensive line is so good, though. I'm going to put that, they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, and the Seattle Seahawks are going to round up the Super Bowl contenders. Those are the 5 I think can win it. And, those are definitely the 5 I think can win it. Because Seattle, Russell Wilson's playing like a madman. Running game solid. They got to work on the fumbles a little bit. Defense is playing well. They're coming together, especially this new era after the Legion of Boom. And you have Pete Carroll. You have a guy who's been there. And I think that's why the 4 teams I have up there, and that's why the San Francisco I'm iffy about putting there. Shanahan's never been there. And that's the one thing I have against. That's the one knock I have against. Well, he was there with the Falcons, and we know how that went. Lost 28-3 lead. So, and he wasn't a head coach either. So I don't know if he is, I'm not knocking the Niners, but I think they're missing something. All right, so it looks like we have a few teams left, and as you can see, these teams are teams. So we're gonna fly through these ones. Colts, they don't have to go to rebuild, but they need to rebuild at quarterback, so they're just out. The Steelers are just out, but they should go into a rebuild mode. If you think about the fact that the Steelers can finish above 500, 500 would be a bad year at this point, but they should finish above 500 with losing Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown this year. Because Antonio Brown they got rid of. Le'Veon Bell signed elsewhere, so he was gone last year. And they lost Big Ben early in the season. They lost arguably the best trio in NFL history for a quarterback, running back, wide receiver in history. And they still should finish above 500? That's crazy. You really have to think that's nuts. And they've gone to their 3rd quarterback? That's just a well-run organization, and Mike Tomlin deserves credit for that, and I think they'll be just out. The Jets in rebuild. Dolphins in rebuild. The Browns are ugh. The Jaguars need to rebuild. You signed Nick Foles to a ridiculous contract for literally no reason. You totally threw. You could have signed Blake Bortles for cheaper. And that's just a bad run organization. 4 of these 5 teams on the bottom are poorly run. I think the Giants are a solid run organization. They put some faith in you. That's why I think Daniel Jones will end up being a solid NFL quarterback. Not great. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he'll be a solid NFL quarterback. And that's what it takes to get up the rankings, is you need someone to have patience in you. I don't see that with Dan Snyder. I don't see that with the Redskins. I don't see what's happening with the coach and the GM for the Jets, how all that's working with firing him after the draft and Gase not wanting Bell and just so many weird things. The Dolphins, I think, can be in good hands. I think they fully committed to the rebuild. I think they really hurt Josh Rosen's career. I like Josh Rosen. I think he has potential still, but I think his career might be dead because of how the Dolphins handled him. I would love for my team, the Who Dat Nation New Orleans Saints, to go out and sign him and say, hey, I want you to sit. If Drew Brees comes back. I know we're going to win the Super Bowl, so we might retire after we win the Super Bowl this year. But if he doesn't, the Panthers, they're an UGG team. Arizona Cardinals, full rebuild. The Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are actually a very good team. Okay. I totally recant that statement, but not fully. So they have 5 losses of 1 possession. And, one, they lost by 2 games. 3 games, they lost by 2 points. So if they were able to get a few extra field goals, they'd be contending for a wild card spot. So that's why I'm like, the Denver Broncos, they're not as bad as people think. You know, they had the Super Bowl a few years ago with Peyton Manning, and they've kind of fallen off a little bit since then, but they're not as bad as people really think. Drew Lock, we're going to have to see what happens with him. They used the early second round pick on him, so we're going to have to see what comes out of him. I'm going to put them in the rebuild category because they're kind of in a rebuild, but they're a team that can shoot up again. Bengals, oh my gosh, they're going to be the first team in rebuild because they need that so badly. So badly. The Bucks and the Lions, they're UGG because they've been committed to the rebuild. I think the bottom row are teams that have committed to the rebuild, and the UGG are teams that are just like, they're stuck. Because they kind of can get out of it. They kind of have enough talent to go 500, but they're not good enough to. Like, the rebuild teams aren't talented enough to do that. The UGG teams could go 500, if not better. They're just like, I mean, the Lions and Bucks are on the lower end of that, but actually, no, I'm going to knock Lions to the rebuild. I'm not even going to trip. So now, give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to go and I'm going to remaster this list from the left side being the teams that I think are the best all the way over. Okay, and this is my final list ranking the teams. I think the Ravens clearly deserve the number 1 spot. Who Dat Nation coming in at number 2. Seattle, New England, San Francisco. Those are my Super Bowl teams. If any team not listed there wins the Super Bowl, please come back to this video and hit the dislike button. But for now, hit the like button because this list is super accurate. The rebuild section, I want to do a quick explanation. I have the Giants as the number 1 team because obviously record-wise, they're 2-10. They're the second worst record. But I think they're in the best setup of any team in that rebuild section. The Bengals are obviously really low. The Dolphins, because they have so much draft capital, but haven't made any picks out of it, I will not rank them higher. That's just why the Giants are a little higher, because they've used those picks, and I think Daniel Jones and Saquon will be good. And they have the second overall pick. The Dolphins, they haven't made any of those picks. So that could flip, obviously. I'm going to come back and do a playoff one when the playoffs begin. So if you like this type of content, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe it. Comment down below what you think I got wrong. Also, let me know your favorite team. Because Who Dat Nation is running through that NFC, and they are going to go to the Super Bowl. Let me know your favorite team. Let me know if they're going to make the playoffs or if they are not. Either way, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. I am out. Call your mom. Tell your lover. She deserves to know. Peace.